Now keep in mind, and so I was hearing noise over there from, you know, from Maria's area, and then I was hearing Anthony, uh,
Downstairs.
no, Kevin was downstairs, Anthony was over
Yeah.
there, and so I heard Anthony going at it. Um, this is after he hooked up with good Jane. Anyhow.
Yeah, Jane, in this case, being Snyder, her Barry's daughter.
Right, so I'm laying there and I'm hearing them, and I'm like, oh, hey.
You're going, ay, 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 ay. Yeah. Speaking of ay, so this was the year that you had the infamous.
So who's the first person you met?
First person I met? Michael Shore.
Really? Wow. That's because he was the first person I met when I rolled into town. So.
Well, I mean, as far as students go, and I met him when I was on the tour with Catherine Sullivan. And then it just happened that he happened to be there at the time that I was doing the other stuff. But that was also when he was lighter than he is now. He's gained weight since then.
Yeah, so he was the first student I met, and as well, and.
But then again, I was also lighter at that point than I am now too.
Anywho.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying that purely as a point of like time changes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll give you one better. No, actually, I weighed more at that point. I went into college at 130 pounds and dropped to 90, where I stayed for a year and a half. And then I struggled to maintain a weight of 116, dropping back to 90 for the rest of the time that I was at college. And then I finally got it up to 116, and now I'm over that.
Yeah.
I'm still under that 130, which felt like shit.
And people are like, wait a minute, don't you usually gain weight your first year?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're forgetting one thing.
You didn't have James Sanders as president.
And also no dining hall.
Yeah, especially that. Well, that and the fact that there wasn't any meal plan of any kind. It was like, good luck to you, because we got 5 classes that you're going to. You can't miss anything. You have to do all the work, and if you miss anything, you have to do all that work plus the work that you missed. All the work that you get in the class that you show up for, all the work that you missed, and you have to have it in on time, and we're going to dock your points if you don't, even if you request an extension, because it costs too much money to give you an extension. I actually had that conversation. That's how I remember that spiel. And I'll do you one better. You're not allowed to, by law, Section 504 of the Americans with Disabilities Act, it says that you are not allowed to cite low finances as a reason for not giving extensions on papers or other reasonable requests.
Yeah.
I had low finances cited to me over 275 times over my course at Burlington College. So over the course of 4 years, over 275 times. No, you can't do that. Why not? It costs too much money.
Yeah.
What was I asking for? I was asking for extensions.
Yeah.
Ignore that drop. What was I asking for? What was I asking for? I was asking for extensions on stuff. I was asking for alternate assignments be considered in lieu of written
Yeah.
work, which I had written into my letters, which were bullshit anyway because nobody ever listened at them and took them seriously.
Yeah.
And mind you, I had all the blame was put on me in those letters. Nathan has to ask for this. Nothing will be given unless Nathan asks for it. Well, it should be given regardless of whether or not I ask for it, and then I can have it implemented as needed.
Yeah.
That should be the way that it's written. But no. Burlington College couldn't have it any legally correct way. They had to do it in such a way that they couldn't possibly be held to blame in any way, shape, or form,
Yeah.
even though they violated the law quite a few times.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And I can prove it. And that's just their paperwork. Never mind what Jane did.
Yeah.
So then we get to the point of you and I became friends. Now, how do you remember that year going? Because this is the year prior to Janice's dismissal. Do you remember anything political atmosphere? What was it like as a school? Because it seemed to me that the tension was rising at that point.
Um. Yeah. Pretty much, I believe so. Yeah.
Because it seemed like the first year I was there, I don't know about you, but the first year I was there, it felt like it was an even keel. Everything was kind of running as a smoothly operating machine. And then the second year, the political tension was on an incline. So that by the time we got to the summer of that year, you're heading into the fall, it was going up towards a peak. And then when we got to Janice Grill's firing in, or dismissal, whatever you want to call it, call a spade, she was gotten rid of. That was the peak of it. And it felt like it stayed up there for the rest of the time that I was there.
Yeah.
And I can't say that everybody else had that experience, but I know I was targeted. And I improved that I was targeted because who else had the cameras in the rooms and was vocal about it? Who else dared to ask the questions that nobody else would dare to ask of Jane? Who else was asking for accommodations that was being denied for stupid, inane reasons?
Yeah.
And that brings us into year number 3. I said I want to continue to study film, but I can't use a camera. And I can't continue in that way. I can do digital video, but I can't do a camera that requires film because there's too many steps for me to remember. It's hard with a disability. And they said, well, you need to drop film as your major then. And I said, wait a minute. What do you mean I need to drop film as my major? And they said, well, you're not allowed to do it if you can't do film. I said, look, I'm asking you for a simple adjustment. I'm not impugning on other people's class time. I'm not demanding special treatment. I'm asking for a simple technological change that doesn't affect anybody else. I'm not even going to be discussing with them what I want to do for films, unless I need another actor. And even then, the question shouldn't come up as to why is he using this instead of a film or another 16mm camera. And they said, well, no, you can't do that. I said, why not? They said, because it's not fair to other students. And that's where I said, well, you're right. I forgot. I asked for the disability so that I couldn't drive. I couldn't really get directions to or from any place. You can't read nonverbal communication. I suck at math and science and computers. But I would get a technological leg up on everybody in class.
Yeah.
They didn't get the humor. But that happened, and then they went on to ask so many questions that tried to probe me in a direction of, well, you're not allowed to take this, but you can change your major and create one. But it has to be one that we can tell you that you can do. You can't do one on your own like the history of comedy. It has to be something else. And you're not allowed to do digital video production, but you can call it that. You're not allowed to do it, but you can call it that. So there's some screwy logistical points where it was like, you're not allowed to do this, but you can call it this. That's perfect sense. Not. And this was around the point that, like, Munich came out, the HD film by the Spielberg and stuff. So that was that year.
Yeah.
So that was that point, and Jeff Wager just started that year as well. And Munich was 2007, so it was a year prior, but Jeff Wager just started that year, and I said to him, look, I want to use a digital camera and film too. And he was sitting directly across from me. Sarah Mel was sitting to my right. And Sarah Mel was supposed to be my advocate in the meeting. She didn't say a goddamn word. It was left up to me to ask this. So I was alone in that room asking for something, fighting for my education. And I said, I want to use a digital camera. He said, well, you can't do that. I said, why not? Who am I affecting? Who am I impacting? It doesn't cost the school any money. And it doesn't put you out of work any. And it's not taking any more or less time from you. I can still try to attempt to use film cameras in class. All I'm asking is to use a digital camera outside of the classroom setting where it's hard for me to do things otherwise.
Yeah.
And he said, well, okay, let me run that by Barry. I said, well, you should be able to say it yourself. And he said, well, look, I have no problem with you doing it, but I need to learn by my supervisor because I don't know what to say. And Barry said, well, no, you can't do that. And said that to me about it's not fair to the students. And that's where they decided that I needed to change my major. So I wound up battering them over that. Then I wound up battering Art Hessler because he was saying stupid, inane, and insensitive things to me, like, we're not going to dumb down our curriculum for you. He said that to me. Can you believe that? Son of a bitch said to me, we're not going to dumb down our curriculum for you. Did I ask him to quote-unquote dumb down anything for me?
No.
Did I ask him to alter anything for anybody else for me?
No.
Did I ask him for anything that would cost him an excessive amount of money as a school or him individually?
No.
Then I fail to see why he would have an objection to somebody using a digital camera in a film production class, don't you?